3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the RISR Review. I'm your host, Janie Reed, and on this podcast, we have been reviewing what's going on with the AU Championship Series in Rosemont, Illinois, and chatting all things offense and mental training. So week 4, and I'm curious what it feels like to be going into the last week before the last week. I read that on the AU social media. I was like, I like the way they put that.
The last week. I love that.
Gosh,
It flies by.
it flies by.
It flies by. Like you leave home and you're like, I'm gone for 6 weeks. Like it's gonna be long, and then it literally like I can't believe we're the next last week. It's nuts.
Yeah,
I think like after week 1, I was already sad because I was like, oh gosh, only 5 more weeks.
yeah. It's true though,
Like,
and
it just hits like week 1.
Yeah.
once you get in here, it's just like you just go like get into this routine and it's
Yep.
practice, game, rest, practice, game, and it's just like just go.
Yeah.
And then I think like every week the competition gets better and better. And so it's like you're like, I don't know, I like every week I have this itch even more. It's like I want to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This year's been like, I would say now that everyone knows how it all works, right from week 1, it was like super competitive and just like hit the ground running. Where in week last, I feel like it wasn't until week 4 where things just started to like take off.
And the leaderboard is very like usually this week you would see the biggest gap. Like you would see the top like 10 and then everyone's like really far behind. And I feel like this week everyone's really close. Like all it takes is having one good game to jump and like bring people like change the whole leaderboard. Like everyone's pretty close together.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be going into next week.
That's exciting. So Halo and Chiddy, you're both captains again this week. Congratulations for the same exact teams.
Yeah.
Crazy.
All 4 are that way.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm inching up.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You are. Stelly
Stelly
is right behind. Stelly's right
I'm right
behind.
there. Like
You're right there. And this is the first week that you guys are all on separate teams,
Yeah.
which is pretty impressive that it took this long. Like,
it
I
really I thought this was gonna be how it was week 1.
I agree.
yeah. So to recap this past week, we're going to kind of highlight a little bit from each person. So we'll start with you, Chiddy. Talk with us through your favorite at bat that you had this weekend.
Yeah. So it was a fun at bat. Thule and I have been competing for years now, just back. Like she dominates me and then I'll get like 1 or 2 and then she dominates me and then I'll get like 1 or 2. So it's just been a constant back and forth battle. So just seeing her so much, like I know kind of a little bit more, like even when I know she still beats me, but for some reason, like this at bat was just like, you know how we can just see the ball? Like I was just seeing it, and she was with Thule where she, you know, is great. She keeps it low. And in this particular at bat, she just kept it elevated. And so it was like a couple of them were balls. I think she threw, I don't know. I think it was like a 2-2 count or a 2-1, 3-1 count. It ended up being a 3-1 count. So I was seeing it and being patient, but everything was outside. And so I was thinking 3-1, she's gonna throw me one of her dirty outside drop balls. And I just kept thinking everything that we had been working on, like with these drop ball pitchers, get under it, like just stay under it, inside bottom half. And so I'm loading up for that outside pitch to do that. And she throws me an off speed and she left it elevated. And it was just like, it was just one of those, like, you said out of body experiences, because it's just like, you're just so perfectly in time, you see it and it's just like, boom, go. Like, you don't even know how. And even if you try to line up to be that perfectly on time, it's impossible.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it was like one of those moments. And I crushed it off the bat, was like, oh my God, that just felt great. So yeah, that was definitely one to look back at and be like, how did I just do that? And 2, like, that was like, it's not happening again. Like I could not repeat that even if I tried. So
Yeah.
Didn't hit the like full.
I think it would have been
when
in the
it went
freeway.
on the freeway.
Yeah.
On it, not
Insane.
next to it, on
Yeah.
it.
It
Off a
just
change up.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
yeah.
So it was kind of hung and it was kind of coming inside.
Over to the plate. It was like middle out type deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
when you watch her swing, when she swung at it, you would think she was literally sitting change. Like you would think that she was sitting for that one pitch.
Yeah, it was.
You
it
saw
was
that
so
so
I
on
saw
time.
that early. Yeah, I saw that early, and again, right when you're working on your timing and rhythm for an outside pitch, you're gonna be on time or changeup as well, or at least semi on time. But
100%.
it put me really on time for it because of how elevated it was.
And that was one of our questions this week that we got on our social media, was like how to stay through the ball longer on a changeup. And so to set your timing up in a way when, especially when you're facing a pitcher where you know they have a changeup, to be thinking oppo really helps you to be on time for both.
Correct, because you have to start your load later, but your rhythm stays the same. I think that's where people get mixed up, is that they like, I don't know, they like change or go too fast, or they wait longer and then they rush. And it's, you have to keep that same nice rhythm all the way through. I'm just starting it a little bit later than I would for an inside pitch. Like inside pitch, I might start that same rhythm and load when she starts moving forward. But then on a changeup, maybe when she gets like her hand up here, it just different points is when you're starting, but the key is to maintain that same rhythm so I can get off my same exact swing.
Love it. And Halo, you had an impressive weekend as well. Nothing new there, but you went a couple games without getting out. So walk us through that consistency and your adjustments that you made after game one.
Yeah, well, I mean, game one. So you talk about you had that bomb off Thule. I went 0-4 against Thule. So I drafted Thule this week. I made that a point. So hopefully you guys can keep going back and forth. And now it's
Thule.
But no, I had a really rough first game, like 0-4, and I left the bases loaded myself twice. So I left that many runners on base. It was just like gut wrenching, right? So I knew like Saturday and Sunday I wanted to come out and just switch everything up, like be aggressive, get pitches that I wanted to swing at, like really just trust my timing and approaches. And I feel like I think I've learned this about my swing this year. Like I've always had a really consistent mental approach in the box, but I think what I've learned this year is that like when I get a hit in that first at bat, it's not like I'm not gonna go over. It's like I'm stepping in the box and I'm feeling extra freaking confident at bat to at bat to at bat. Like the momentum keeps building. And so what I'm trying to do is, and I tried to do this on Friday and I felt really good with it, but like I tried to replicate like acting as if I hit a home run that lead off at bat, getting in the box my second at bat, even if I struck out. Does that make sense? Like the confidence that I had at bat to at bat is probably the most consistent that it's been, and I think I'm seeing results because of that. And I'm getting deep in counts. I'm making sure to get my swing off. I'm not passive, and I think it's working. It's clicking.
Love it. Simple but consistent and straightforward. I remember kind of making an adjustment like that mentally last year, getting ready for the Olympics, where I was going in between the 2 spot and the 9 spot, and I was allowing that to affect the way that I thought about myself as a hitter. And so I just had to get to a point where I was like, I'm going to carry myself like the 2 hitter, whether or not I'm in the 2 spot or the 9 spot. And it elevates the way that you carry yourself and how you think about yourself as a hitter.
For sure.
So Stelly, you got into a lot of 3-2 counts, had 3 walks in one game. Walk us through 3-2 counts, because you said you thrive in those counts. And I know that sometimes, I think you can look at it of like, I have 3 balls, or you can look at it as I have 2 strikes on me. So how do you balance that count and feel really comfortable in the box?
So, I mean, ideally, I don't want to get to 2 strikes or 3-2, but I know ever since college, I've always just had more confidence when I have 2 strikes because I take away the second guessing. It's more of like anything close, I'm gonna swing. And so rather than when I don't have 2 strikes, my approach is almost like, well, what if it's not a good pitch, or I want a specific pitch? So I start to get very like picky almost. And which I'm working through. Like now I'm trying to be a lot more aggressive, but this weekend I was like Haylie said, a little more passive than I wanted to be, but I was able to get out of those situations by focusing. And even though maybe I missed a pitch that I could have probably swung at, not letting that bring my confidence down in the box, and knowing that I still had 2 more pitches or 3 more pitches. So when I do get into a 3-2 count, I'm still confident as if it was 0-0. Like
Mhm.
if it's close, I'm gonna foul it off. But if I'm ready for my pitch, no matter what.
Mhm.
And also trusting your eyesight. I mean, I'm trusting my vision a lot this year, and just trusting that like if I have to lean for it, or if I have to get out of posture for it, or if it's just something that doesn't make me want to swing, it's most likely going to be a ball to me. And trusting that and not second guessing that has helped me a lot this year, and just being able to get those 3-2 counts and then getting a walk out of it.
Nice. Love it. And great recap. So this is a great time to remind you, if you haven't downloaded the RISR app, go to the App Store right now, download it. We have tons of lessons on there waiting for you. We get to hang out with you through lessons on hitting and mental training. And we really just want to share all of this information in a more extensive model for you. So make sure to check that out. And then moving into the next segment, we're going to talk more about what people have been asking us through our social media. So what do the fans want to know from you guys? And one of them was, how do you stay calm in bigger situations? So does anyone want to take a stab at that?
I'll go. I mean, I felt like I was in pressure situations quite a bit this past weekend. And it's like an ever evolving mindset. I think going back to your breath is super important. And realizing that like you have the ability to slow things down. I think when pressure gets kind of on you, you want to like speed up, but make sure like you're very deliberate about your breath and taking your time in between pitches. And two, like the result is going to be what it's going to be, but like don't let that pressure take away from how cool the moment is. And like I tell myself every time I get up when there's a runner in score position, like like it's time to bring that run in, like let's go, like I can do this, train for this. So have that mindset. Don't be so afraid to fail, but be excited for that opportunity to do something great for your team.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like what you're saying too is like, is it the point to stay calm in those bigger situations, or is the point to allow yourself to feel the excitement, or is it based on who you are as an athlete?
I think it's a happy medium of both. Like I think that when you're in those moments, like being super nonchalant probably isn't the best way to go about it. But also too, like not being so, it's somewhere in the middle. Like you can't be too up, you can't be too down, but you need to make sure that you are not afraid to fail. I think that's the biggest piece.
You guys have anything else to add to that?
Well, I was gonna say, like, especially for me, is when you are in a high pressure situation, like we just said, it's high pressure. The pressure is already on, and not adding to that. So not telling yourself like, I have to score this runner, I have to hit a home runner, I have to, like the game's on me. When in like reality, like having that trust in your teammates and trusting yourself, and knowing that, like Haylie said, we can't, the outcome is going to be the outcome. The most important thing is to be like, to fight and be able to show your your competitive side, and know that you're not going to go down without fighting. Like it's not going to be easy to get you out, but not also, like I said, putting that extra pressure where the game's on the line if you don't do so and so. Like going in there with some confidence, but then also going in there with I can control what I can control, and what I can't control is how I approach this at bat, and what happens after happens.
Yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing too for me is like, obviously I know I'm in a situation maybe with runners in scoring position, games on the line, but I don't let that take over. It's like, okay, this is just me and the pitcher. And when I'm my best, it's see ball, hit ball. And so I take out everything and just kind of bring it back to that like calm moment of like, okay, just it's you and the first pitcher, one pitch at a time, and not get caught up in the situation and what's needed of you. Because I've done that so many times where it's like, I have to do this, and what do? I have to, you go at the ball, you try to go get the ball, you go over the ball. Like, I don't know, like you try to make things happen versus staying within yourself and allowing, your process to work for you.
I also
I think
I also like to remind myself, like, this is the most exciting part of the game. Like when you're at practice, you always like create these outrageous scenarios, but like I always tell myself, okay, Erika, like bases loaded, bottom of the seventh, 2 outs, like
Mhm.
you're up. Like you want to be in that situation. So having confidence in yourself and taking that moment because you don't want anyone else to be in that situation but yourself.
And that's
Yeah,
not, how you're gonna be in that situation either. Because I told you I left like 20,000 people on base. Freaking, it was atrocious and awful. Sunday night in that last game, I got the go-ahead RBI in the 7th inning. We were tied 6-6, and then we went up 7-6. So like you're gonna get another chance, but what
Always.
like even if you fail, and you might fail, and you probably will fail at some point, what can you learn from it? What can you change going into the next time that you're in that situation to help you come up clutch?
Mhm. Yeah, you have to acknowledge what the situation is. You can't ignore it because I think sometimes that makes it even bigger, you know. But then at the same time, it's like there's really not many things that give you that, you know, rush of adrenaline and excitement, and you gotta just like soak it all in.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, exactly. You get to say that because you haven't had an at bat all
Yeah, just soak it in.
Yeah, like because then you don't really realize that because we're so in it and we feel that, and like I don't know. I was actually just saying this the other day to Sam Fisher. I was like, our game is so like satisfying because it's like you go in, like you work towards something and you go into that game and you complete it. And it's so much of like this building step, and then you get to go like put it to action, and then the game is done, so it finishes. Like, so there's a completion to it. Nothing in life is there a completion to things. Like it's always like work, like it's always ongoing. Like everything really, you know, everything just kind of continues on. But like in our sport, like we have like such a, I don't know, like, yeah, you work towards something and then you succeed or you don't.
So you go back to the drawing
So you go back
board
to the drawing
and
and
you
you do
try
it
to get
again. And it's just like that constant, and it's like, it's so enjoyable to do, you know?
Yeah, it really
Then the
is.
other
I
side.
really appreciate that perspective because I think I always looked at it as ongoing. You know, like whether the game was over or not, I'm already thinking about what I need to do for the next game or what this means for like who I am as a hitter right now. And it always felt like it was this ongoing process. So I think that could be helpful for some people to like look at it when the game's over. The game's over. Like
Yeah.
that was like your 7 innings or however many innings that you got to play, and it's
That was
done.
the project. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Like you're never gonna go back to that situation or that game, those scenarios, like ever. You're never gonna go back to that. Even if you play that same team again the next day, the whole completely different game.
Yeah, and the game always welcomes you back too. I think that's like the coolest part. Like you could have sucked. You went 0 for 4.
Terrible.
But then they like, come back, Halo. Let's do it again.
Come back, Halo.
She goes,
And then
great.
she goes 15 for 15.
Yeah, and then she kills it. So it's like, it's always just like wanting you back, whether you're terrible or you're great or you're working through something. It's like, let's do it again.
Invites failure.
Oh yeah.
And it teaches you that when you fail, it's not over. Like you, like Chiddy said, like it welcomes you back. It's just like, oh, here, have another try.
Yeah.
Here, try this one.
Yeah.
Like you have, and
It's
I
not gonna
don't
kick
think
you
a lot
out.
of people,
No.
yeah, I don't think a lot of people see it that way. Like I think a lot of people, especially in this generation, is like they see the minute they fail,
It's over.
it's over. Their career's over.
Life is over.
Everything is over. And I used to be like, I
Me
mean,
too.
not to that extreme, but I mean, I used to like take those failures like so hard sometimes, but it's just like, why when you have another chance tomorrow? Like you have another chance the next week. You have a chance to improve things at practice. Like every day is like a new day.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah,
this
and
brand new day, like literally it's a brand new day.
and some people are in a situation where I think they think that way because it could be over for them, you know, like they might be a bubble player. And like I think about just some of Jake's teammates like that feel like it really might be over. And I think about what it talks about and It Takes What It Takes, where he's like, sometimes there may not be anything that you can do to make it better, but there's a lot that you can do to make it worse. And that's kind of one of those perspectives where it's like, if you if you think that way, like it's over, I suck, all this stuff, it's like you're gonna make it worse. There may not be anything that you can do like to make it better until you perform better, but there's a lot of things that you can do to hurt yourself and assure that you're not gonna perform better and you're not gonna make it better. So I think that's a good point. Okay, question number 2. What advice would you give to a senior in college who's going to be a team captain or in some type of leadership role on their team?
Come on, servant leader, lay it on her.
Servant leadership is the key. Like if you want people to buy into what you're trying to build, what you're trying to do, you've got to put them first. So like leadership is not about what they can do for you, it's about what you can do for them. How can you get the best out of them? Love them, serve them, see what they need. And really just like make that your goal. Like get outside of your individual performance and look at and celebrate what other people are doing. And when you open your eyes enough to see that, those leadership conversations, those standards will all come about naturally. So just put other people first is the biggest thing I think.
And be it like however you want your teammates to be, or you want everyone, just be that. Like walk the walk, hustle, like do the things you say you're gonna do, and be lead by example, be that person. I think that's a big thing, because a lot of people get in those roles and just start and they don't do anything. So
and be yourself. Like don't let that title change who fundamentally you are, like personality wise or teammate wise. Just be that version of you.
Also know that there's a reason why you got picked to be captain. So you don't have to change anything. Like whoever chose you to be captain, or if the team voted, or whatever the situation was, like there's a reason why you were able to step up and become that role. So just flow with it, go with it, be yourself, and like Haylie and Chiddy said, like walk the walk and want to help others perform, because again, this is a team sport.
Yep.
You're just leading it.
Yep.
So you want your team to succeed, you have to be able to help them out and serve them.
Love that. And I totally agree. Like with being a senior, you can really take advantage of being a senior and not give back or serve in any way. And I just think you end up missing it, you know? And I think when you keep yourself low in some ways, like it helps you remember what it's like to be a freshman, and people really respect that. I just watched, I was actually listening to something on servant leadership, and they showed 2 commercials, and one was like a Hall of Fame NFL player, and it was just like video footage of him carrying like a bag of footballs to practice. And like he was like 20 years into the NFL or something, and then just like setting it down and getting ready to stretch. And it's just something little like that. Like no one would even blink an eye if he just walked past the bag and didn't carry it to practice. And so that's like a choice that you have to make, especially when no one else is going to hold you accountable. Like, do I choose to continue to do the right things and do the things that are going to end up like serving the people that I'm around? So love that. Lastly, school is just getting started for a lot of people. And I think the fall is a really good time to establish those new routines. Summer is crazy with softball, and then you're taking a break and just kind of like letting your routine go, which is fine sometimes. But how do we get back into that routine with school, softball, studying, social life, all that stuff? Any tips on like how to establish a new routine, or how to time manage? Because that's something that took me a really long time to figure out.
I think it's trial and error, like sitting down, like what do I want to accomplish? And like once you kind of figure out like what it is that you want, okay, then how am I going to get there? And then these are the steps of how I'm going to get there. Okay, now how can I implement that into my everyday? Where does that fit into my schedule? And then little by little, it becomes a lot, right? Like you start moving towards that, and it becomes, okay, this is working, or you know what? I'm liking this first half of my day, but that half's not really working. So let's implement that and make some changes to that. So I think it's always evolving, but I think that if you're willing and just having like an open mind to like making some changes, instead of being like, okay, well, this is routinized that, just I got to stay in it, even though it's not working. Like you don't want that either. So I think it's exploring what you feel when you feel your best. Like what did I do that I'm feeling so great? Let's continue to do that.
I think
And
go ahead. I think going off of that, just like giving yourself grace also in the beginning is just like you did just come off of a busy summer, then you took a break, like you are in a space to create a new routine or go off of what was working before, but like give yourself that grace period of like, okay, trial and error, like let me try this out, see if it works. If it doesn't, like I go back to the drawing board. If it does, then I'm gonna go off of it, but not going into it right away. Like I have to do A, B, and C every single day. If I miss a day, like it's gonna go out the window because that's just, it's a lot. You're just putting a lot of pressure on yourself.
Sure. I think one of the things that's helped me a lot is like time block planning for that one day. So like I know I'm going to be at school these hours. These are my goals. I've written down my goals, right? Because you can do a RISR camp and you wrote down your goals with us. But like you write down your goals and it's like, okay, if I want to go to a Power 5 school, I feel like I need to hit 3 times a week in the fall or twice a week in the fall, whatever. Lay out your schedule for the week, lay out your schedule for the day and be like, okay, like at 3:30 right after school, I'm going to hit for 30 minutes. I'm going to hit for, an hour. And if you don't get to it that day, if you're too tired or you get a homework assignment or something like that, totally okay. Give yourself grace, but at least give yourself like an idea of what it is that you've got going on that day, that week, so you can really maximize your time. And then when you're in that activity for that hour, hour and a half, whatever it is, be all in that. Shut your phone off, stop scrolling while you're hitting, don't let any distractions come in. It's you and whatever you're working on in that current moment. Like be as present as you can possibly be to be efficient, but also be really effective.
And I feel like to know, like to do that, you have to also know your priorities. So like knowing what isn't a priority. Like maybe today, like your friends asked you to hang out from 5 to 6 after school. And that's something that you really like want to do, but you also want to get your work in and you want to get your extra reps in. Like knowing what it is you want to do and knowing what is a priority to you is going to help you be able to establish that routine or establish that game plan for that day and know, okay, if I want to hang out with my friends from 5 to 6, like I need to get my hitting in and my lift in. So how can I make this work where I can end up doing everything that I want to do? And if you can't, then you can't fit it in, try the next day. But if you can, then you need to like knowing that, okay, if I lift in the morning and then hit right after school, I'll have all that time to hang out with my friends after because I got my stuff done. But just knowing what's a priority in your life at that moment will help you be able to create that schedule.
For sure. One of my favorite like practical methods too is to set a timer for like 25 minutes, work straight, don't check the time or anything. And then as soon as it goes off, you get like a 3 to 5 minute break where you can get up, walk around. And then as soon as that goes off, come back another 25 minutes and just repeat that. And I think that helps me with undistracted attention to whatever I'm doing. And you can take that into the cage too, especially if you're the type of person that kind of needs to like unplug and then like zone back in. But I think with our phones, it's a really tough problem because it's so easy. Every 7 minutes we check our phone and it just leads to things taking way too long than they really have to. So there's a little quick tip for you too. And we have a lot of resources on the RISR app for routines, all of that stuff to help you guys just get into the flow and get all the things that you need to get done. We are here for you and we're here to serve you. So make sure to go download the RISR app in the App Store and we'll see you there.
Yes, thank you.
You guys.